How you guys doing? Welcome to Brandon Cruz Daily Fantasy Podcast, where I go look, load, and plays and strategies specifically designed for GPPs. This is a show for people who are already informed on daily fantasy sports and how these contests operate. If you have any questions related to NASCAR isn't a stupid question, feel free to shoot them my way on Twitter at BrandonCruzDFS. Most importantly, take everything here with a grain of salt and use your best judgment when making entries. Additionally, if you have a gambling addiction, that is just not my problem. Check your sense of feelings at the door. We're talking about the Las Vegas Xfinity Series race this weekend. And look, I don't have a whole lot to really talk about. This is going to be a really short video in terms of what I normally do because I know the way I'm going to go. I don't really want to bother talking about other ways or other types of line construction because from what I'm seeing with projections and lineups that I'm making, this is the only way I'm going to go, So we're going to get into that. Before we do that, it's the beginning of the month, so you can join my Patreon for $18.99. Covers all three series: the Truck Series, Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series. We've got gyro projections, a heat map, cores, favorite plays, and a Discord to come talk to me as well. Also, live shows again this week, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday with Pierce. We're going to be doing those. We're still debating on time. We'll usually figure that out tomorrow. I'll post on Twitter. It'll be my pinned tweet. That'll have all the links and the times on there for the live shows. So hop in there, check and see what we're thinking. Maybe he can knock some sense into me. Maybe he can bring some stuff up that people might want to talk about or at least look at. So looking at the Xfinity Series race here, we have a few situations or at least a few things to note to talk about. So let's take a step back and look at Homestead last week. Last week I was like, Reddick is not going to lead laps. He's not going to have fast laps. He's not going to do well. The only way he can do well is when if he gets pure place differential. The only way that he can really do that is if we have a situation where Noah Gragson either wrecks or something bad happens to him. People like Ty Dillon, Harrison Burton have bad races or just aren't really showing up. People like Brandon Jones aren't showing up. People like AJ Allmendinger, just having a poor race or not really showing up or something happening late to where they lose positions. And what happened? Literally all those things happened. Okay, so we had Gragson get wrecked on the last lap. We had Harrison Burton blow a motor under yellow. We had Ty Dillon get a hole in the radiator. We had AJ Allmendinger get spun out on either the last or second to last restart and go from fourth to, tail end of the lead lap. And that's where he was basically scored from. So, yes, Reddick worked last week. I was not on Reddick, and I'm not going to be on Reddick again. I think this is the exact same play with almost more ownership. We had Reddick around 50.9%. I think if we see him bump up maybe to 55, maybe closer to 60, just because everybody's like, oh, he was so good last week and we got to play him. Did you play him in the Cup Series? Got to play him in the Cup Series. Did you play him in the Xfinity Series? He almost won that race. Whereas, Reddick at 11.6, sure, it's not outrageous, but that does hinder your lineups a bit. So, I'm fading Reddick. I'm not playing Reddick again because the same situation, if not more things need to happen. Like last week we had Gragson, AJ, the guys that needed to do bad, they were starting up front, so they even had more ways to not outperform Reddick. Now that we have Noah Gragson, Justin Allgaier, Ty Dillon, Harrison Burton, AJ Allmendinger, they all have place differential upside. I would say, Reddick can easily be beat by these guys, and I'd probably put Reddick around second or third best in terms of highest ceiling and highest floor. But still, if he's going to carry 50% ownership, if a lot of lineups are going to be built with Tyler Reddick in mind, I'm just going to fade him. So that's where I'm at. If you don't like that, feel free to play differently. But I'm going in talking about this as if I'm fading Reddick, which I'm going to do. Also, regarding starting parks, look, I don't keep any information like behind you guys. It's like I'm not in cahoots with certain drivers about not announcing who's starting and parking or whatnot. Right now, everybody's sponsored. MBM, yet again, they don't say anything until the day of, the hour of. Literally, the only time we got information on what they were doing last week was during the live show. So, come on, you guys got to stop asking me because I'm giving you all my information. Man, I'm getting so many DMs and so many questions about starting parks. My DMs are open to more ask me questions related to racing, or if you need any help with anything related to Discord or Patreon or whatever. But Jesus Christ, you got to stop asking me who's starting and parking. And I can't imagine, I gave Jason some crap about this in his Discord, but I can't imagine being a driver or a team having random people ask me what vehicle I'm running, what am I starting to park. That would drive me insane. absolutely be at the bottom of a bottle in that situation. So this just seems like a stack from the back type of race. Okay, and we're going to talk about Austin Cindric a little bit, but I'm going to be stacking from the back. I'm focusing purely on place differential. That's my thing. Not because, and I talked about this with Sheets earlier today, but it's not that. Let's take Austin Cindric out of the equation right now because we're going to talk. He's in my player pool. But looking at the upside from the people inside the top 10 in terms of who can lead, about the only guy that I expect that should or could lead right off the bat would be A.J. Allmendinger, if you're not talking about Cindric. Now, when I look at the people who I project to lead laps and the people that I project to do well in this race, that happens to be Gragson. I have him projected to lead laps. I have Allgaier projected to possibly lead laps and get fast laps. I have Ty Dillon projected to get fast laps or possibly lead. I have Harrison Burton projected to get laps led and fast laps. I have A.J. Allmendinger projected to get laps or get fast laps and laps led. So it's not that I'm purely playing the place differential guys. It's just that those guys happen to be the people that I expect to dominate the race. So if you're looking at dominators, Noah Gragson, Justin Allgaier, Austin Cindric, Ty Dillon, Harrison Burton, A.J. Allmendinger. Those would be, gosh, geez, I keep hitting that. Those would be my dominators, you know? So when I say I'm stacking from the back and stuff like that, I'm not just playing, place differential. I'm playing those guys because I see them getting up to the front, leading this race, winning this race, So that's why I'm saying it's a stack from the back type of race. Now, outside of that, Austin Cindric, same situation as last week. This time he's starting second, should easily lead a good portion of this race, at least the start until the good guys get up. So just like last week, started first, 26 fastest laps, 63 laps led, okay? That's the same situation that I see Cindric here as well. So am I going to play Cindric? I'm probably going to be very light. I think he'll be very chalky because everybody's going to be like, oh, he's a dominator. You got to play Austin Cindric as a dominator. Whereas I don't even have him ranked as the best dominator. As I just said, you have Gragson, Ty Dillon, Harrison Burton, A.J. Allmendinger, who also offer place differential. I think they're going to outscore Cindric most times. I see Cindric maybe finishing as the 6th or 5th highest scoring driver. So we got to find those other 4, and those are the other guys that I like. So he'll be in my player pool. I think his ownership is going to probably be a bit too high. I would imagine he comes in around 30, 25 maybe. And if that's the case, I think it's a bit too high. Maybe 20 would probably be perfect. But I imagine, like I said, we're going to have a lot of people playing Tyler Reddick probably paired with Austin Cindric. Now, going through the field, since I'm going that way, if you're in a situation where you don't believe Cindric is going to lead and you don't believe that Gragson or all those other guys are going to lead, I'd put a lot of faith in Brandon Jones, but just in that situation. We've seen him run well at these races last year, kind of sneak out some wins here and there. Just keep that in mind. But I'm focused on place differential, so I'm not high on Jeb, I'm not high on Haley, not high on Moffitt, certainly not high on Clements. Josh Berry, interesting, and we'll talk about lineup construction a little bit here. But if you're paying up for Reddick, if you're paying up for Gragson and people like that, you're going to be forced into very similar builds. And I don't think enough people are really thinking about that as they're making the builds, because if you're going that way, if you're like, oh my God, I love my Tyler Reddick, Noah Gragson, Austin Cindric, or whoever you're playing with Reddick, oh my God, I love this Reddick lineup. I think that's going to be very popular. No matter what way you really go, I think it's going to be really, really popular, because if you're doing that, I assume other people are doing it. I'm assuming the optimizers are going to do that as well. So most of the pivots are going to be made in the 7 and 8K range, because that's pretty much the range that a lot of people are going to be locked out of if they're paying up for so many guys, if you know what I mean. So I don't like Josh Berry as a play. I think he's going to be very popular because he is only $7,300. He tends to be able to fit in a lot of lineups. And sure, he got 20 fast laps last week, but that's because he pitted off sequence and stole all the fast laps from people. I'm worried that a lot of players try and fit Josh Berry into lineups this week, and I just really don't want to be down that road. I think last week was the place to play Josh Berry, and that's about it. A.J. Allmendinger, I like him in general. I like him a lot. Sieg, Herbst, Annette, plays that I'm really looking at to pivot off of, or pivot to, not off of. These are my pivot plays that I really want to focus on. I like Annette, I like Sieg, I like Herbst. I'm trying to see if Sieg is going to get talked about more, because if you look at his recent history here, this was the race that he ran very well at. He ran very well at these races last year, but particularly in the fall race at Vegas, this is when he was running a full RCR car, and this is really the only time he ran that car. And I'm not sure if people are going to see his track history, which is 5th or 5th, 3rd, 14th, 6th, 12th, and 29 as you go farther back to 2018. I mean, that's great track history. This might be Sieg's best track. If that's the case, we might see people going to play him at $8,200. So while he's a B ranking here, he might be my lowest owned guy out of the three here, just because I think people are going to end up going to him. Landon Castle, Garrett Smithley lineups might end up going to them just out of default. You got Smithley at $5,700. You have Landon Castle at $5,300. We'll just see. This will be a real test for the Rick Ware car, because we've seen him run well, but he's always had to go through the field. They've always spent the whole race trying to cut through the field. Now he's starting where he should start. He's right where he should be. Do I think he's probably the best car out here at $5,700 for Garrett Smithley? Probably. Do I really see him knock it into the top 10? Not really. Do I see him falling out of the top 20? Not really. So 20th to 10th is pretty much where I see Garrett Smithley running. I'm nervous that we're going to have ownership on him as well, because everybody's always like, you got to play the Rick Ware car. And that was always when he was starting in the back. That was always when this team was starting in the back. Now we're starting 15th. It's getting a bit rough, We'll just have to see how lineups go. Dexter Bean, no. Alex LeBay, not too interested. I don't think we're going to get to... I don't think you can very easily get to Alex LeBay. I know he's $6,500, but there's other plays around him that I'll probably go with depending on how I'm making my lineups. Timmy Hill, I don't like it at 18th, even if he's sponsored. I don't like the idea of paying $5,400 for Timmy Hill starting 18th. Weatherman, sponsored, but no for me. Ty Dillon, I love it. Absolutely love it. I think everybody is very almost disgusted at Ty Dillon right now, and I think we're going to see people maybe stop playing him with the 38 finish at Homestead, 14th causing the wreck at Daytona. We might see people really starting to get off of Ty Dillon and then only play this car whenever Ty Gibbs is in it. So keep that in mind. I like Ty Dillon a lot. Tell me Joe Martins, I think he's starting very similar to where he'll finish. Harrison Burton, fast car, should compete for the win late in this race. I like him a lot too. I'd much rather, if I'm not playing, which I'm not playing Reddick. If I'm not playing Reddick, I'm going to boost a lot of ownership to Allgaier, Ty Dillon, Harrison Burton, and AJ Allmendinger. So that's why I love Harrison Burton as a play. And Harrison's interesting because he's the worst play in the 10K range actually he's 9.9, but he's the worst play up high in terms of place differential, and yet I think he might have the second best car in terms of just cars on the track. I'd rank Gregson first, and then I'd probably have Harrison Burton as second. So that's why I'm going to be so high on Harrison Burton this week. Santino, no, he struggled a lot in this car. He needs practice, and he's too expensive this week. I'm not playing Santino. Williams is interesting. Josh can fit into lineups, and you kind of have to go out of your way to get him. At $6,000, he's not popping off at anything, but he seems like a play that I'd much rather go with than trying to fit in Matt Mills or Ryan Vargas and guys like that. So I like him. Brandon Brown, I like him a lot too, starting 25th. Joe Graff Jr., lineups just seem to end on Joe Graff. At 4,800, I'm noticing a lot of Joe Graff Jr. ownership in my lineups. I'm not playing him right now. I'm trying to get away off of that, but if I'm getting there, I imagine everybody else is going to be getting there too. If we're having to deal with the Joe Graff chalk at 4,800, it's not bad. It's just that I'm like, he can pay it off. He can make lineups work. He can get into the top 20. It's just that, do I really want to eat that ownership to where if I just pivot in, one or two places, I don't even have to be in that same price range. So, I mean, he's going to be very chalky. I'm not sure I want to go there. Jade Buford, not going there. David Starr, this is kind of interesting. Typically, anytime there's a lot of negativity towards a driver, or people are like, oh, he's an idiot, I can't believe you wrecked him, or whatever. People don't tend to play him. David Starr is in the situation this week after causing the incident with Noah Gragson, which is just, I don't know why people don't like Noah Gragson. Everybody's like, oh, these drivers now, they're too, they're too wooden. There's no personalities. And then every time, Gragson goes out there, they're like, oh, this guy's an asshole. He just complains. He thinks he's entitled. I mean, that might be the case, but Gragson has a lot of talent. If I was in the same situation as Gragson last week, man, I'm pulling a Ward Burton. I thought in the interview when Gragson was like, oh, I'm going to go to Bass Pro Shop, I thought he was going to say, oh, I'm going to go to Bass Pro Shop and buy a gun and shoot something through the window to David Starr, because that's ridiculous, man. I'd be so pissed off if I was Gragson. People who are siding with Carl Long and David Starr are a bunch of morons. It's absolutely stupid. David Starr should have known better. He was court and tire for almost 4 laps before that. Unbelievable. But hey, I just said that. Maybe people don't play him. If that's the case, I don't mind going back to David Starr for $5,100. Chad Fincham, just got to see what car he's in. Got to see what he's running. Jeffrey Earnhardt, too expensive. I don't like it. Matt Mills, I don't see it working as well. $4,700. He gives you place differential, and I imagine that we're going to see a lot of Joe Graf Jr. and Matt Mills at the very bottom of a lot of Tyler Reddick type of lineups. So maybe to get off of him is you play a lot of Matt Mills or a lot of Graf Jr. without Reddick, and they are literally like your punt plays, and then everybody else you're playing is in 7 and 8K, 9K, 10K ranges. So maybe that's a situation that you go with. I'm not convinced on the Matt Mills car. If I'm going to punt, it'll probably be Joe Graf Jr., but we'll see. Probably even Jesse Little over Matt Mills. I like Jesse Little. I believe in him. I don't believe in the car, but I do believe in him. $5,000 even in the 78 car. If he actually performs, he can get a 22nd, no problem. We've seen him run really crappy equipment up into the top 20. I think this is the same situation here. Parsons, I'm still high on Parsons. He had a bad situation last week. He just got trapped laps down, and we didn't get the yellows at the right time. He kept losing the wave around to other people. Maybe that keeps him. Maybe that keeps people off him. Like I would much rather use Jesse Little and Steven Parsons if I'm going to punt at the very bottom than Joe Graf Jr. and Matt Mills. The only thing is, if you're getting a lot of Joe Graf Jr. and Matt Mills, you most likely can't afford Steven Parsons unless you're changing a lot of your lineup, because when you're that low, Parsons is 52 and Jesse Little is 5,000, Joe Graf Jr. is 48, Matt Mills is 47. You're typically getting rid of a play that you like there. So maybe you keep that in mind if you're in a situation where you're getting a lot of Joe Graf, you're getting a lot of Matt Mills, you might just have to remake your lineup. That's probably what I do, or just don't play Reddick. Noah Gragson, favorite play. Can't say anything more about that. I'm locking him in probably 100% again. So we'll see how this goes. Unbelievable. Oh, man. I was so pissed off last week. Anyway, Greg Galding was actually not sponsored in the Jimmy Means car. He did not have the Panini or whatever the heck sponsor he carries. Where's he at? Oh, he's $6,700. That is ridiculous. I knew it was too much, but that is just far too much for Greg Galding. When he gets back to the 5K range, we'll like him, but not till then. Justin Allgaier, like him a lot. Then we'll be playing a lot of Justin Allgaier. Colby Howard is another guy that I seem to be landing on in the 6K range. The optimizer really likes him. It really likes Colby Howard because typically lineups that I'm making are really heavy on, like I said, the 9, 8K ranges, and then it just wants to throw in Colby Howard into everything because I just happen to have, a range of, $6,500 to $5,800 left, and it sees Colby right there, and it's willing to play him over people like Jesse Little, over people like Parsons. And so I don't know if that's just me ending up with him or if other people are going to have that same situation. I'm not high on him. I don't like it. I'm going to try and get away from that. I don't like those types of builds. Bailey Curry, I think he's a bit too expensive here. I know we're paying for place differential, but I'd much rather pay for Matt Mills, Jesse Little, guys like that. Bailey Curry at $6,200. Same situation as Howard. I don't want to pay that much for place differential. These guys can get it done. We saw Curry have an issue last week, and finished 36 at Homestead. We just have to see what happens. I don't like the Howard or the Curry play, and then I'm ranking him as a C. I don't see him winning the race. I don't see him getting fast laps. I don't see him leading. I'm just not playing Reddick. Feel free to play him. That's just the stand that I'm going to take, and I'm going to try and get different, or I'm going to be different that way and just try and hit all the other guys that I like in my lineups this week. So if you guys like that, thank you for watching. Got it done in 20 minutes, a little bit longer than I thought I would. I thought it'd be quicker than that, but oh well. But thank you guys for watching. I will catch you next time. Support me through Patreon or PayPal if you like it. And, just thanks for watching. I can't say more about that. Live shows for all 3 races this week on my channel. You can find the pinned comment on Twitter showing the times and links to that. So thank you guys for watching, and we'll catch you next time.